So, welcome to the class. Let's start. We were talking about urbanism in India, salient features of urbanism in India, urbanization in India, salient features of Indian cities, how the cities developed, and what are their salient and special characteristics as distinct to outside world. Okay, so we were talking about today. We will talk about medieval urbanism. Medieval urbanism was characterized by two interesting streams. In India, medieval urbanism was politically dominated by Delhi Sultanate and Mughals. Yes. On the other hand, on the cultural front, it was characterized by Bhakti and Sufi movement. You know what Bhakti and Sufi movement?
Yes, sir.
What is that? Can you tell me? Well, let's have a brief introduction
When
on that. Yes.
so when the society was getting polarized, because people wanted actually to get out from the Varna system, and they wanted to establish something more relevant and justified system, which was
What
not
was
recognized.
Bhakti movement and what were Sufis? Who were Sufis? Can anyone tell me?
Sufis were the saints.
Sufis were the saints, and uh, how they were different from Orthodox Islam or mainstream Islam.
Their ideology was a bit different. They were to some extent liberal kind of having ideology, and
Yes,
practices were different. And the Chishti Silsila is also part of the Sufis.
yes, just there were silsilas, of course, but and Bhakti movement.
In Bhakti movement, they were establishing their own god by giving new faces, deities, and they were recognizing their own god so that they can delineate from the mainstream Hinduism that was being practiced in the society.
Okay, they were. So what they were trying to do, Bhakti movement saints, they were saints in Bhakti movement, and in their Muslim counterparts, they were saints in Sufism. Sufis were there. They were not called saints. They were called Sufis. Yes,
So they were trying to get out from the orthodoxy and establish their own, maybe their own
they
religion.
were not trying to establish their own. They were trying different things, and their philosophy was different. At least about Sufis, I know in detail because I happen to be in that line, perhaps. So let's talk about Bhakti movement. What was that? They were perhaps trying to chart a middle path, isn't that?
Yes,
They were trying to chart a middle path, and in both Bhakti and Sufi movements, there was one very interesting thing. Can you tell me about what was that interesting thing? Yes. What was that interesting things? Yes. What was that?
I read about.
Yes.
Yes, I'm not able to recall.
It was their philosophy of the religion was very different from the mainstream religion. One at least one thought they had. They they were in love of God.
Yes, sir.
You're getting me?
Extreme love. So
Extreme love. They were they took God as their beloved. At least Bhakti movement considered their God as their beloved, or they beloved of their God.
yes, sir.
In Bhakti
They were
movement,
encouraging
yes,
people to live the worldly life.
you can quote one example of Meera. She was a devotee as well as a lover of Krishna.
Yes.
That was not the physical love or love as we know. That was the ishq. There is a difference between ishq and love. Uh, not we are not going into detail, but there is uh, they and in bhakti movement it was bhakti of their beloved. It was a little different from Sufi, but mostly um, in main philosophy they both were charting their own course and they both were same, at least in the genre. Uh, Sufis also said that they were in love with Allah. They were not opposing mainstream Islam. Bhakti saints were not opposing the mainstream Hinduism, a mainstream religion. They were charting their own course and they said that there should be bhakti as we do love, as we love our God, as we love our Creator. In mainstream religion, as if we talk about Hinduism, in mainstream Hinduism, the bhakti is devotion, devotion to God, and the God is a typical Hindi word which can explain more. The God is their Aradhya. You know Aradhya. Have you heard about Aradhya? Aradhya means the creator which we have to bow to. We have to submit. And in mainstream Islam also, we have to bow towards God. We have to bow towards Allah. In this philosophy, Bhakti and Sufi movement, they are a little bit different from the mainstream religion, the mainstream of their respective religions. Sufis considered God as, they said that we are in love with Allah, and they sometimes they go to and both of them were singers to some extent. They sang their love to their God. They were poets also. It's a very interesting thing. They were poets also. Bhakti saints also, Kabir. Rahim was also a Bhakti saint, though he was a Muslim, but he was a Bhakti saint. You can consider him as Bhakti. Perhaps you must have heard some dohas of Rahim. Rahim, you know. He was Abdul Rahim Khan Khana. Have you heard about? In the Navratans of Akbar, one couplet of one doha I fondly remember, and I like it very much. That is, Rahiman itna dijiye jame kutum samaye, मैं भी भूखा ना रहूं साधु ना भूखा जाए. Have you heard about that? Yes. Have you heard about that? रहीमन इतना दीजिए जामे कुटुम समाए, मैं भी भूखा ना रहूं साधु ना भूखा जाए. A Muslim poet is saying that. He was a Muslim poet, but he was in line with Bhakti traditions. And do you know, we believe that we are descendants of Baba Farid. Have you heard of Baba Farid. Anyone heard of Baba Farid? No.
No, sir.
He was one of the first poets of Punjabi, and he is revered in Sikhs too. He has a mention in Guru Granth Sahib, and every year a delegation from India of Sikhs go to Pak Patan where his mazar is. You can say mazar. Okay, so what I am emphasizing, my aim is not to go into detail of bhakti and Sufi movements, but I am trying to establish that there was urbanization, some towns were founded because of them. Bhakti saints and in that time, Bhakti saints and Sufi saints were so popular that where they go, people gone following them, and where they establish their ashram, or kutia, or khanka, as you say, they settled there. They settled around them. Their bhakti saint and their bhakti, their Sufi saints, and ultimately that settlement, a settlement was formed, and ultimately that settlement was has become a town, because they were engaged mainly in other than primary activities. So there is a bhakti, and in Indian urbanism there is a element of bhakti and Sufi urbanism. Some of Indian urbanism was caused by that bhakti movement and Sufi movement. Yes. As you can give example of Ajmer. In Delhi, also Nizamuddin, Saint Nizamuddin, Sufi Nizamuddin was there, and where he was, that was a town. It is engulfed in Delhi now, but it was a town. Have you heard a railway station of Hazrat Nizamuddin? Have you heard of it?
Yes, sir.
There is a railway station name. That area is that area was augmented because of Hazrat Nizamuddin. His dargah, his khanka, and his, you can say, ashram. And in Ajmer was augmented by the Sufi saint. And I was talking about Pak Patan it is in Pakistan now. So Pak Patan was a town because of Baba Farid. And the descendants of Baba Farid, they gone and settled some settlement. And sometimes that settlement became a town. And it was very likely that the settlements built around Bhakti and Sufi saints become a town, not a village. Why that is so? Can you throw light on that? Yes. Yes. Azhar, can you tell us about that? Yes. I am saying that it was very likely कि वो जो सेटलमेंट उनके आसपास बसता था वो टाउन होने की उसकी पॉसिबिलिटी ज़्यादा थी. वाई टाउन बन जाने की यस
People have started believing to their philosophies. They were attracted by it. They started to settle over there. Markets started to settle nearby.
They started to settle over there. That was the reason of existence, rather the ethic of that town. Yes, but why that town has more probability to become a that settlement has was in all probability become a town.
Ziyarat system started, which were
Because
uh,
it's very simple. Because their main occupation was other than primary activities. They were they were not focused into agriculture, and we defined urbanism as urban systems as the system in which most of the labor force is engaged in other than primary activities, and these that the activities around them was not primary activities mainly. Well, some agriculture was there because we have to eat food. Some agriculture was there also, but the focus was on the activities which were other than primary activities. I will like to associate it with Mughal towns also. As I have said in the starting, that the medieval period of Indian history was interestingly known for Bhakti and Sufi movements, and the Delhi Sultanate and Mughals influence on Indian urban life and Indian cultural life, Indian society. So, what do you think about Mughal cities? कैसे थे Mughal cities? What do you think about Mughal cities? Were they good? Were they planned or not? Mughal cities were planned or not? Yes.
I think yes.
Yes, Mughal cities were planned. Though now they look like that they were a mess, they were not planned. Narrow streets, congestion. Mughal part of Delhi is very narrow, congested. Shahjahanabad. Shahjahanabad, a very one of the earliest planned city of India. Shahjahanabad, you know. New Delhi, Delhi actually. The part we know as Delhi today is Shahjahanabad. That was planned. If you see the and I was coming to Fatehpur Sikri. Fatehpur Sikri was uh, built by Akbar in honor of uh, who? Sheikh Salim Chishti. He was a murid of Sheikh Salim Chishti. There was a tradition of being murid and pir in Sufi movement. As you have pointed out that there was a silsila, and there were peers of that silsila also. Yes. Yes, Atiq. Why you mentioned
Yes, sir.
especially the Chishti silsila, not any other silsila? Yes.
I recall that name. That's what.
Okay. Okay. It's all right. So, I thought that there must be some connection of you to Chishti silsila. Okay, so Akbar built a city in the honor of his peer. You know peer. You know the concept of piri and muridi.
The
Anyone know?
main head or the teacher and the disciple.
And the disciple, like bhakts. They are like bhakts. They are almost blind followers of these saints. And contrary to popular belief, Islam doesn't came to India as a conquering religion. It came first as a trader in the south, Malabar coast, and then it was mainly spread by Sufi traditions. Actually, they were not converting to mainstream Islam. They were converting to that Sufi philosophy. Don't you think? They have that moderate and liberal face of Islam. That is the reason of, that is one of the prime reason of conflict these days. There is a conflict in Muslims also about philosophy. It doesn't show up because of some political and other reasons, you know better. So what I am trying to establish is there was a strong influence of Bhakti saints and Sufi saints on Indian urbanization. Some towns were designed, some towns were built around them, and some towns were highly influenced by these Bhakti and Sufi saints. You can take example of Ajmer, you can take example of Fatehpur Sikri, you can take example of Pakpatan. You can take many examples, and small towns and small villages, small settlements, which very frequently gone on to become town. They transformed into town because I've discussed it that their the main focus of activity was on other than primary activities. So we have a strong Bhakti and Sufi influence on Indian urbanization. And we are talking about Mughal towns. They were planned. And what was the main focus of their cities, main attraction of their cities, Mughal cities? They were planned, yes. They had lush gardens. They made gardens. Actually, Ibrahim Lodi started making gardens in cities. And Mughals followed that in more tasty manner. They made and very interestingly they made garden in Char Bagh traditions. What is Char Bagh tradition? Can you tell me? What is Char Bagh? Char Bagh rings a bell in your mind or not? What is Char Bagh? Have you heard Char Bagh? Yes. There were many baghs. If you go to Lucknow, Char Bagh is in Lucknow. If you go to Lucknow, then you will say Char Bagh, Kaisar Bagh. They were gardens. Lodi started making them, but Mughal followed it very elegantly. If you go to Kashmir, Kashmir is also a land of Sufis and Bhakti saints. Rishis. Kashmir is a land of Rishis and Sufis. Have you heard this thing? Kashmir,
Yes, sir.
Kashmir is a land of Rishis and Sufis. So, if you go to Kashmir, that is Shalimar Bagh, isn't it? Where the Jahangir recited a couplet. Do you remember? Perhaps he recited the couplet in Shalimar Bagh. In the praise of Kashmir, he said that Gharf Firdaus bar ruwe zami ast, hami asto, hami asto, hami ast. You must have heard it. सुना होगा आपने
Yes,
ये
sir. Yes, sir.
कि अगर दुनिया में जन्नत कहीं है तो वो यही है, यही है, यही है. And
Yes, sir.
in Mughal architecture there was a very interesting thing. If you go to Taj Mahal, have you gone to Taj Mahal?
Yes, sir.
They built their monuments as Jannat. Actually, they were making paradise on earth. As we describe paradise as Jannat in our scriptures, there नहरें होंगी और बाग होंगे. Don't you think that Taj Mahal is built in that tradition, and Shalimar Bagh is built in that tradition, and Char Bagh is built in that
Yes,
tradition?
sir.
90 degree 90-degree ways, and garden here, garden here, garden here, garden in all, and also a very interesting type of urbanism was developed in Mughal times. Gardens were there in Mughal times. There was a very interesting type of urbanism, that is mobile urbanism. Mobile towns were there. How? Can you guess? Yes.
Transportation was good and
Transportation was good, not because Mughals were always on the move in wars, and they were desert people. They were fond of making tents. Hmm. If they stationed their army at some place, they were making tents, and it is also called the tent urbanism in India. There is a lot of tent urbanism, and that tent sometimes the remnants when we if they station there for a longer period of time, that tent around the area of that tent, where tent, yes,
yes, sir.
tent. Anybody know tent or not?
Yes, sir.
Rather, anybody doesn't know about tent. Khema, a tent, a temporary dwelling made of some cloths and other material. It's not a house, but around, if they station there for a substantial period of time, that tent sometimes developed into uh, a township, a settlement which later became a town. That is tent urbanism in Mughal times. Mobile urbanism and tent urbanism. So what we got here, that Mughal cities were planned. There was a strong bhakti element, bhakti and Sufi element on Indian urbanism in medieval times. And one thing more, the Mughals have done. Their towns are sometimes called patrimonial towns. Patrimonial. Have you heard about patrimonial towns? Patrimonial towns. It is. You can translate it into that. The king was like a father to the public, or as they called riaya. Have you heard that word, riaya? He was like a father to his riaya, or public, or subjects, and he. So what is the importance of being a father? What is the implication of being a king, being a father? It is that he was ruling his subject as a father, with love, with welfare in mind, and he must be obeyed.